Guitar, front page of the Daily Nation still, shame of teachers who prey on pupils. And most of them have been interdicted. Is that enough? Should there be more prosecution on this?
And just before she comes in, if we can just put that back up on the screen, the biggest story is that tutors entrusted with the care of pupils are notorious for taking advantage of schoolgirls and are responsible for most of the pregnancies reported. This is according to the Teachers Service Commission, BOSS. And stakeholders in the industry are calling for concerted efforts to end the shameful vice. So this is like a sensational headline. It's actually, after investigations, this is what has been found. Sorry, coming down. And
there's just been interdictions. Should we be seeing prosecutions on this?
Yes, I believe it's shame of teachers, of course, who prey to pupils, because they are the most people who are entrusted with the student when they are at school. And I think there should be stern actions and taken against those people, or sorry, those teachers who intubate or have to be in relationships with their students. And I believe our police officers, if schools like Kenyatta University or colleges, they have proper system of security departments. Why not in primary schools introduce security departments? I think there are no security departments or matters that handles immediate cases. When students are being maybe raped, there is nobody who still handles immediately. So I think it's quite a shame of the teachers.
Simi, you want to come on this? Because I know you're an expert in security issues, but this is getting out of hand. They're saying that there's concerted effort that is needed to address it. What sort of effort should be put in place? Because they're saying many are yet to be caught.
You know, there are two things about our schools. One is we have teachers and head teachers or principals, whatever they call them these days, who still rob our parents, you know. The government has said there's no school fees, they're still asking for school fees. So when you have those kind of leadership, then how do you expect teachers to behave well? So we must look at the educational system in this country in totality. If the leadership of the schools have no capacity to even manage their own systems, then you'll find teachers who have no care in what they do, even as they took an oath to be good tutors to our children. Number two, if these are pupils, because the nomenclature is very important, if they are pupils, then they are below 18. So why are you sending these people home? Take them to court for defilement. Why are we not doing that? Because that is, I think, to be the best thing we can deal with this issue. If the people who are doing this to our young girls are girls before 18, is it 14 years? Yeah. So if it is anything below that, then the first thing they need to do, interdict this fellow, take this fellow to the police, let them have a case to answer, let them go through the court process.
Okay.
That's my view.
If as you come in the when you turn to page 2 of the Daily Nation, many yet to be caught.
Yes.
That should be concerning, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we probably have a staff profile of about 250,000 teachers, at least 250,000 teachers. So 1,000 cases is really a very high number, even in that context. I've spent the last couple of months actually visiting many schools. Some of the counties that are listed here as having the highest numbers. TC, I was there 2 days ago talking to teachers and pupils. This issue came up. And about a month ago, I was in Homa Bay and Kisumu, where I also talked to teachers. I probably talked to about 3,000 students over the last 2 months or so in different ways. Amnesty runs a human rights clubs, and maybe coming back to Monica's point, for us, I think, rather than militarizing our schools or increasing the level of security, I think what our strategy has been really to create space for students to be taught their rights, to be able to articulate them, and to be responsible for the safety of all the other students. So it's not just about yourself, it's about leading the community. Our schools are controlled environments, and this is the thing that's very scary about this. Our schools are controlled environments. Under the Education Act, you know, the place of a school really is like a sanctuary for particularly very poor families who see violence either in their homes or they see it in the neighboring villages. The schools should really be places of safety and sanctuary. And this clearly shows that there is a problem. I've often said, and I'll say it again, and I hope she's watching, that Nancy Macharia in some ways is actually a great human rights defender. She has maintained this position, and I think every year she has given public statements on what the situation is with regards to teachers who prey on pupils. I think the last comment I wanted to make on this really is I think there should be convictions. I think these issues are grave enough not simply to have people removed from office, but essentially prosecuted in a court of law, and let the state use a bit of its resources to prosecute and convict some of these teachers who have done this. It's not a mild case or a petty offense. These children will be probably permanently scarred. One doesn't know whether there is psychiatric support for these children. What is the stigma and shame that is attached to being defiled by an adult? And I think this is really a call to the nation to address this problem in a much more decisive and a much more comprehensive way.
All right. Mwenda?
But actually, that said, I believe there are many teachers of great goodwill, great servants of our republic, who are also tired, and when an headline like this appears, these sincere teachers feel completely helpless. They feel offended beyond measure. They are also praying that something would happen so that the dignity of the teaching profession would still be protected. In spite of such pedophiles, men or women who prey on children sexually, the teaching profession still remains a respected profession, an adored profession, and it doesn't matter what you think about teaching, you still take your kids to school. They will still go to school. My children went to school this morning. They will all go to school in spite of such pedophiles. Now, what we need to do, therefore, is what my senior, Mr. Werunga, said, convict these people as criminals. These offenders are not anything but criminals. I think we are, the TSC or the Ministry of Education, I expected something phenomenal last year when there were so many teenage pregnancies during examination. And I'm saddened that Amina Mohammed left the docket, being a woman, left the docket with actually almost nothing really phenomenal that the public would know. Because sometimes, whatever you do, even if you do it quietly, sometimes you need to make noise about it. The world needs to know so that it can be a deterrence against those who want to do this.
What were you hoping to see, briefly?
People prosecuted, people gone to jail and convicted. Application of the Sexual Offences Act. These are pedophiles. These are sexual predators. They are taking advantage of our children. These children, even if they lied that the child consented, a child, the law does not, the consent of a child is not admissible in law. Until the child is 18, that child cannot, fairly or legally consent. So these pedophiles should be rotting in jail. That's what should happen. I think we are playing too nicely, and maybe to see some order, I'm sorry to say, but maybe it's time we give this job to the DCI or the DPP. These are the two gentlemen who seem to know what they're doing in this country. Everyone else, the TSC, the Ministry of Education, they seem to be dilly-dallying and pampering these criminals. How can you live?
But usually there's a concern, because in such cases, the kind of evidence that is needed sometimes is eroded with time. Because if this happened a long time ago, the person has to stay in the same state so that specimen
Did you see the vetting of Judge Kavanaugh? Did you see the vetting of Judge Kavanaugh in the United States? Judge Kavanaugh in his 50s was being brought to account for something that was alleged he did in his about 16 or 15 years of age. Evidence does not rot. This, even if the evidence was not collected scientifically in a hospital, if the child says, I was molested, believe the child. We should bring those teachers or put them to task. If we put Kavanaugh to task, we can put these teachers to task.
You seem to have wanted to respond.
Yes.
You are coming, please.
Yes, because as I said earlier before, we are taking care of our students in the universities. but we have not taken much concern on the primary schools. There is no much concentration on security of our students in the primary schools. That is what I wanted to mean, that if our students in the university, they are well taken care of and they are beyond 18 years and plus, what about these that are in the primary schools? So there should be implementation of security within the schools. That when they are being molested, of course, there is an immediate person they can go see. And especially for the girls, they should introduce security officers in the within the school compound. That is.
So it shouldn't even be the teachers then.
It is collective responsibility. The teachers
PTA,
and the parents, the PTA, plus now where they can be able to lay their cases comfortably. Because if matters comes in investigations, who will start the investigations? You wait for the police to go to the police station, then they come and start the investigations. No, there must be somebody there at the central place where the rape happened, the sexual harassment happened. Somebody they can just relay the information, who will make the follow-ups of the investigation process.
One last final comments, because we need to take a break, and I want to get your minds on this. A teacher has always been a figure of authority in school.
Yes.
With time, of course, they've become softer, and now students speak back to teachers, but still there's that fear of a teacher, and this might bring about a culture of silence. Could that be the reason why many are still yet to be caught? Because students are afraid, so they keep quiet.
And maybe the cases could even be more.
Yes. Exactly. Can we get those as last two comments from both of you?
But that's why I'm going back to the head teachers. You see, head teacher is trained to do all those things. That's why he's a mentor, he's a head teacher, he's a teacher. So my problem is we need to go back to the people who manage those schools. Because the essence of being the head of that school, you've been given 3 or 4 responsibilities. You mentor these children, you teach these children, you manage the teachers, and you manage the school. So if we cannot have police officers or security people in the school, that is why you are the head or the principal of that school. So I think I still go back to this association of head teachers, whatever. There's one for primary and there's one for secondary.
Yes.
I think that should be our entry point, and we need to hold these head teachers to account. Number 2, evidence never rots. These children, if they are pregnant, we have DNA testing. So if they have picked on somebody and said, this is the person, it's only 9 months. We test this kid, we test this fellow, and they should be taken to court. You see, there's defilement and there's rape. Rape has no age. So if this kid is 18 or 19 or 18 and a half, if it was not by consent, then that is rape. So I think it is us, Kenyans, either we are leaving this thing too much to TSC, but we also need to hold our head teachers to account.
Any final comments? I
mean, I think if there is a space in our country that reflects the tremendous transition we're going through, it is our school system. I mean, it's not long ago, before the Matiang'i rules, that actually what we called results were really receipts. People paid for the results that they got, and I think this area around sexuality and the protection of our children is really another front that needs to be taken on. I mean, I think Bijiwe's point about perhaps the TSC, I think the right people are managing this. I think Nancy Macharia has demonstrated she is not going to keep quiet. She takes action up to a point. And I think what we are saying now is that actually we probably need a prosecution agency to either set up a special task force to look at how to accelerate the translation of these figures into convictions. And I think that's the first step that can be taken. The second one, I think, also is that there is need for human rights training within the teaching faculty. And I think if Kesha and KEPSHA, the 2 parent bodies, KNUT and KUPPET and others, are watching, I think what I would suggest to them is that they need to bring in a group of human rights facilitators to actually train head teachers on the importance of maintaining schools as places of sanctuary, places of safety. Because I think the damage to the nation will not only be felt in the individual cases, they will be felt in the next generation of Kenyans.
Okay, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we leave the paper review for now because we want to switch gears after the break and come to our main topic. We want to look at this man, Hilary Mutyambai. He's been nominated for the position of the Inspector General of Police to replace, of course, outgoing police boss Joseph Poinet. Who is this man and what awaits him? What is in his entree? And that's why we're asking you, what are your expectations for the new Inspector General designate of police? What do you expect from him? What do you see that will be challenging for him as well? And that's a picture of that man for whom I must say many people were not quite aware of before that announcement was made yesterday. 2243 is the SMS line. I already see a couple of SMSs coming in. Use the hashtag Daybreak and also call in, and the numbers, we will keep scrolling them on the screen for you. We'll get into that discussion in just a bit after this break.